What's going on? It's Brian with We Go to You Mechanics, and I'm back here with the Ford Fiesta, and we're going to be doing a water pump today. So make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. All right, and let's get right to it. All right, so if you look down there, that is your water pump pulley right there. This is the water pump, and it feeds into behind the timing cover. So in order to do this job, we're going to have to remove the timing cover. First thing we're going to do is we're going to move the coolant Degas bottle, and we're going to start by taking that off, which is pretty simple. You just pinch it and it pulls right off. Also, there's these little clips. It snaps in right there, and right there. In order to get the Degas bottle out, to pull up straight out, you're going to need to remove that nut right there, so that way you can pull up on this AC line and get some movement, so this Degas bottle will come out. And lay it to the side. How are you going to jack up the right front tire? Put it on a jack stand. Make sure that you're using a chock block behind the wheel or in front, depending on which way your driveway slanted. And you're going to want to support the engine with a jack and a block of wood and put it right up underneath the oil pan. Now that the engine is supported, it's time to remove the engine mount. We're going to take off these 5 bolts. 1, 2, 3, and we got 4 and 5, and then the engine mount should slide up. Okay, so this will be the point that you remove the serpentine belt. I just cut it off. That's what I do, because this is a stretch belt configuration. It's not a tensioner configuration. What that means is that the belt, when you install it, it's going to have to be stretched on with a special tool or a zip tie, which I'll show you later. Before you remove the serpentine belt, go ahead and loosen the water pump pulley bolts. There's 4 of them right there. All right, now you want to go ahead and remove the tire. Okay, so you don't necessarily need this tool to do this job. I bought this tool for $30 on Amazon, and it was here the next day. I highly recommend using this tool to do this job. There are other ways to do it. You may be able to find it on YouTube, but I highly recommend to use this tool right here. All right, next thing you're going to want to do is to pull this bolt out. Pull it all the way out, because we're going to install another tool. We're going to install a tool that I just showed you in that hole, and what that's going to do is when you rotate the crankshaft, it's going to stop the crankshaft from rotating, and it'll be on top dead center. Make sure you put a drain pan up underneath where you took that bolt out, because you don't want to lose all your oil. And then you want to install this tool right here in place of that bolt. You want to do it quick so you don't lose too much oil. But what this is going to do is you install it, and when you rotate the crankshaft by hand, it's going to stop the crankshaft at top dead center. All right, so as you can see, I got the special tool threaded into where I took that bolt out of. Then I put a 18mm socket on the crank bolt, and you want to turn it clockwise. That would be in the tighten position, or the tighten direction. Okay, go clockwise. Do not go counterclockwise. You can ruin the engine by doing that. So what you'll want to do is you'll tighten it clockwise until it stops. Once it stops, don't start cranking on it real hard, because you'll shear that pin off right there, and then you'll have some real problems. All right, now it's time to remove the timing cover. That's your timing cover. It's a 2-piece timing cover. We're only going to remove the top portion. This top portion starts up here and it ends down there at the top of the the crank pulley. Okay, so remove the top part of the timing cover. There should be 9 bolts. They're 8mm bolts. All right, now that we got all 9 bolts out, take you a little clip popper or pry bar or a flathead screwdriver, stick it right here and twist. All right, now down here, do the same thing. Stick it up underneath this. Pry that out. Now it should be loose. All right, so you notice that there should be 8 small bolts and 1 long bolt. The long bolt goes right here, and the rest of those bolts go around the timing cover. All right, go ahead and remove the negative battery terminal and remove the alternator. To remove the alternator, you got to take off that bolt right there and that nut right there. And also there is another bolt right there. Also, you want to remove this stud right here using an E8 socket. Once the alternator is unbolted, you can just let it kind of hang right there out of the way. And you're going to want to get that bolt right there for the bracket. And on this side, I'm going to get that bolt right there on the bottom to get that bracket out of the way. There's also one more bolt for that bracket hidden right here. All right, now you take your special tool, the cam locking tool, and you're going to slide it into these grooves right here. Just like that. You want to seat it as far back as it can go. All right, now it's time to mark our belt and our alignment. Now, definitely want to make sure you're on top dead center before you move on any further. How you'll know is, I told you to put that locking pin down in there and rotate it until you couldn't rotate anymore. Now, here's the deal. If you did it correctly, you see that dot right there? And then there's another dot over there. If you did it correctly, those dots will be facing up, directly up. Now, if you don't see those dots, I think there's actually a line over there and there's a dot over here. So if you don't see those, then what you need to do is take that locking tool at the bottom out and then rotate the engine just a little bit, probably like an inch movement, put the locking pin back in and then rotate until it stops, and you should be on top dead center. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to put a line on the sprocket, put a line on the belt, and then put a line on the valve cover, or the back side of the timing cover. And that's how it should look. Those lines match up with the timing marks on the camshaft sprockets. And just for added safety, to make sure that nothing moves when we take this tensioner off, we're going to put some wedges down in there. Put a wedge down in there and a wedge down in there to wedge in between the belt and the lower timing cover so the belt definitely won't move. All right, so what I've done is I put some wooden wedges down in there and pounded them down with a rubber mallet. Not too hard though, just enough to get it down in there and make sure that there's not much movement on the belt. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to take off the timing tensioner right there. We'll take that bolt out. Now, first thing you're going to do is you're going to have to move the tensioner with a ratchet and then stick a pin in to lock it. I'll show you. And here's the locking pin for the timing tensioner. All right, the tensioner is out. I got the pin locked in there. It's a spring-loaded tensioner, so when it's ready to go back in, I get it all set up, make sure my timing marks are on line, and then when I pull that pin, the spring-loaded tensioner will apply tension. All right, now it's finally time to remove the water pump. It's got 6 bolts, 8mm. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right there, and then there's one directly underneath where the light is right here. You can't see it. It's hidden underneath this shaft. All right, make sure you pull the old gasket off. If there's any gasket still stuck on the side, go ahead and scrape it off with a scraping tool or a wire brush, and then make sure you spray it off. Chase it with some brake clean. All right, install the water pump with the gasket and new bolts. Just hand tighten the bolts first, and then I'm going to post a screenshot of the torque sequence, and I think the torque specs are 89 inch-pounds, and you'll want to tighten them in that sequence and then go back over and do the sequence again just to make sure you're at 89 inch-pounds. All right, water pump is torqued down to spec. Now the next is to put the tensioner back in, and this is going to be a 2-man project because you're going to want to pull this belt. You want to grab this belt and pull it up to line up back with your mark. So you're going to pull it to line back up with that mark and then hold it there with both hands while someone installs the tensioner pulley and then pulls the pin on it to set the tension. All right, tensioner is on. Timing marks are lined up. I pulled the pin, so the tension is the spring-loaded tensioner is now tensioning the belt. And then what you'll want to do is you'll want to rotate the crankshaft and have the timing marks go all the way around and come back around again. Make sure they line up again. Do that about twice just to make sure, and then make sure the belt, it's also to give the belt an opportunity to walk its way back into the correct position. God dang, it's hot, man. It's like 110 degrees here in Oklahoma. Oh my God. I don't know why I do this to myself. Anyways, that's pretty much it. The installation part is just all that in reverse. Make sure your timing marks line up. Rotate it, like I said. Rotate it a bunch of times and make sure those timing marks continue to line up every time. Let's see. That's it, man. Just do everything in reverse. Thank you for watching We Go to You Mechanics. Don't forget to like and subscribe.